The one is Sam's Gracie D, owned and trained by Thomas Blankenship of Asheville, Ohio. Sandy Beatty is on. Number 2 is Corner Stand, owned by Donna Sue Chapman of Johnstown, Ohio, trained by Roy Thacker Jr. with Kyle Later. Number 3 is I Need New Nikes, owned by James Hassel and Gary Moyer. They're both of the Buckeye State, trained by Calvin Holler with Brett Miller. Number 4 is Marquee Event, owned by Carol Gamble of Bradford, Ohio, trained by Steve Livingston. Bob Harper is up. The 5 is Sirius, owned by Dwight Clark of Urbana, Ohio, trained by Doug Palmer, Danny Noble. Number 6 is Free Dream, owned by Sharma Kuchbach of Chillicothe, Ohio, trained by Jerry Kuchbach. Jim Daly is up. The 7 is Express Lane 2, owned by Donald Lane of Galena, Ohio, trained by Jim Pollock Jr., the K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Number 8 is Terramina, owned and trained by Jeffrey Dennis of Wilmington, Ohio. Mark Winters is up. And for the outside of the 9 is NBA Lover, owned by Stephanie Bisson of Findlay, Ohio, trained by Patrick Brown. Jamie Dunlap is in her sulky. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing, and the first call goes to the 3. I Need New Nikes is going right out for the lead. From the outside, Terramina is on the go. From the inside, Sam's Gracie D has come away in 3rd. Corner Stand is away in 4th. Looking to drop in, racing in 5, and doing so now is NBA Lover. Away in 6th is Marquee Event. 7th on the inside, that is Sirius. 8th, that is Free Dream. And 9th in trailing the field, that is Express Lane 2. And Kane Kaufman can see them all as they buzz by the opening quarter in 27 and 1/5. Passing the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. Terramina with the lead here, but it's going to be short-lived as I Need New Nikes is hustling back up on the outside for Brett Miller to take the lead here as they roll under the wire with 5/8 of a mile remaining. I Need New Nikes on top by a length and a half. Terramina's right there in the garden spot, tracking her from 2. Sam's Gracie D along the inside is 3rd. 4th on the inside, that is Corner Stand as they step around the clubhouse, turn it on over to the half. First over the outside in 5 is NBA Lover. They reach the half in 56 and 3/5. A solid pace here off the turn and driving down the backside. And I Need New Nikes and Brett Miller out there on the front end by a length and 3/4 to the inside. Terramina's doing her best to stick with her in 2. Sam's Gracie D is still right there in the pocket in 3rd. Along the inside in 4th, that is Corner Stand. Still first over on the outside there in 5. Here comes Sirius. 6th on the inside, that is Marquee Event. 7th, that is Express Lane 2. To the outside racing in 8th, that is Free Dream. And 9th and trailing the field, that was NBA Lover. 3/4 and 125 and 2/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and I Need New Nikes under some left-handed urging. To the inside, Terramina's doing her best to stick with her in 2nd and off the turn and driving to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. I Need New Nikes is rolling away here as they roll within the final 16th. I Need New Nikes takes the first half of the Daily Double. I Need New Nikes in front. Finishing 2nd was the 8 Terramina. 3rd was the 7 Express Lane 2. 1:54 3/5. I Need New Nikes and a new lifetime mark. Here's the 3 I Need New Nikes. A 6-year-old bay mare by Towner's Big Guy out of an HR's Happy Facts. She by Happy Escort. Owned by James Hassel and Gary Moyer. They're both of the Buckeye State. Trained by Calvin Holler. Nicely handled here this evening by Scioto Downs leading driver, Mr. Brett Miller. Number 3, I Need New Nikes, home and a new lifetime mark, 1:54 3/5. I Need New Nikes and Brett Miller. The 1 is BV Victory, owned and trained by Dwayne Lowe of Malta, Ohio. Sam Chipnoble III. Number 2 is Hawaiian Music Man, owned by Charles Weaver of Pinehurst, North Carolina, trained by William Emerson with David Myers. Number 3 is Tom Bruce, owned by Bruce Wenger of Aiken, South Carolina, trained by James Laurent with Joe Adamski. Number 4 is Cobra Sabra, owned by Gary Adams of Circleville, Ohio, trained by Jerry Kuchbach. Brett Miller is up. The 5 is Piano Man, owned by Joanne Perry of Hawkinsville, Georgia, trained by James Perry with Danny Noble. Number 6 is Beamer's Taylor T, owned and trained by Brent Davis of Zanesville, Ohio. Jim Daly is up. The 7 is Power Hall, owned by Joseph Palermo III of Ocean Ridge, Florida, trained by Kim Sears. Kyle Later is at the lines. And for the outside of the 8 is Lady Inquirer, owned by Edith Finney of Deschler, Ohio, trained by Pat Brown. Bob Harper is in her sulky. That's the field for the second race. Conditioned trotters to go postward here. Win, place, show, exacta, trifecta, wagering a field of 8 to go postward at 7:50 in motion. They're all fan trotting and firing away from the inside. There goes Tom Bruce. The middle of the track, there's the 6 Beamers Taylor T. Driving up from the outside, that is Lady Inquirer. Coming away, racing in 4th, that is BV Victory. Caught to the outside in 5, that is Power Hall. Along the rail in 6th is Hawaiian Music Man. 7th on the inside is Cobra Sabra. And 8th in trailing the field, that is Piano Man as they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter. And Beamers Taylor T is wanting the front end tier and trying to cross over in front of Tom Bruce, and does it now through an initial quarter of 27 4/5. Trotting on by the stands for the first time and marching on down to the half. Beamers Taylor T was hard pressed to the front end, and here comes Tom Bruce. Tom Bruce is right back out of the 2-hole, looking to retake the lead here. Tom Bruce on top. Beamers Taylor T is now yielding for a garden spot in 2. Lady Inquirer races in 3rd. BV Victory trots in 4th. 5th, that is Hawaiian Music Man. Then we come down to the 3 trailers, which are Power Hall, Piano Man, and 8th of the last is as they trot by the halfway mile mark of the race. They're halfway home in 57 4/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside and on top of the field, Tom Bruce with the lead here. First over the outside, trotting in 2nd, that is Lady Inquirer at the rail in 3rd. That is Beamers Taylor T, who's backing through the field. 2nd over the outside in 4th, that is BV Victory. 5th on the outside, that is Hawaiian Music Man. 6th into the cover flow, Power Hall. 7th along the rail, Cobra Sabra. And 8th in trailing the field, Piano Man, as they wheel towards 3/4. On top from the inside, Tom Bruce reports to 3/4 in 1:27 4/5. Backside 30 seconds flat. Onto the front end we go, and Lady Inquirer has struck the front end here and is now bracing herself for the oncoming power of BV Victory, who swings to the outside off the turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and BV Victory strikes the front end here, but now charging on the outside. Here's Cobra Sabra as they roll within the final 16th. The 3-year-old Bay Filly by Big Victory. BV Victory in front. Finishing 2nd was the 4 Cobra Sabra. 3rd was the 5 Piano Man. The time of the mile 1:58 4/5. BV Victory continues her awesome ways. To the winner's circle. Off the rail, the 1 BV Victory, an impressive 3-year-old Bay Filly by Big Victory. Out of the pacing mare, First Breath, she by Hold Your Breath. Owned and trained by Dwayne Lowe of Malta, Ohio. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Sam Chipnoble III. This is the 4th win in just 6 starts here in 2003, clocking this mile in 1:58 4, BV Victory. The 1 is Meadowland Diamond, owned by Tamara Hoovler of Pataska, Ohio, and Pat Metters of Washington, Pennsylvania, trained by Mike Metters, Jamie Dunlap. Number 2 is Lady with a Future, owned by Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York, trained by Tim Rucker with Sam Chipnoble III. Number 3 is Sand Bonnie, owned by William Sanders of Stevenson, Alabama, trained by the Big T, Terry Tim Holton, Brett Miller is up. The 4 is Quartzville Cutie, owned by Robert and Gail Empson of Cedarville, Ohio, trained by Gail Empson with the K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Number 5 is Cam's Magic Dancer, owned by Carol Johnson of Urbana, Ohio, trained by Robert Stapleton with Danny Noble. Number 6 is Beep Beep Zip Tang, owned by Nina Sams of Chillicothe, Ohio, trained by Ronald Miller with Jim Daly. The 7 is Usually Jovial, owned by the Big Hat Stable of Brantford, Ohio, trained by Steve Livingston. Bob Harper is up. The 8 is Special Pass, my Bud Light long shot of the night, owned by Paver and Paver of Raymond, Ohio, trained by Joe Paver, Kyle Ader. From the outside of the 9 is Cincy Kathy G, owned by Thomas Price of Cincinnati, Ohio, trained and driven by Jack Daly. And scoring from off the 2nd tier is number 10, Heart of a Hero, owned by Wiley Lyons Jr. of Xenia, Ohio, trained by Tom Myers. Jason Brewer is in her sulky. Field in motion. Being sent on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing from the middle of the track. There goes the 6 Beep Beep Zip Tang right alongside to her immediate inside. That is Cam's Magic Dancer driving up from the outside. There is Special Pass coming away racing in 4th. That is Meadowland Diamond to the outside in 5 is Lady with a Future. 6th on the inside is Heart of a Hero, and 7th along the inside Quartzville Cutie. 8th is Sand Bonnie. Then we come down to the 2 trailers, which are Usually Jovial and Cincy Kathy G. Can see them all as they march by the opening quarter. The initial quarter was in 1:28 seconds flat in a royal scramble for command, and Special Pass clears to the front. But Lady with a Future is mounting a challenge up on the outside in 2. Along the inside, Beep Beep Zip Tang is going along in 3rd. Pulled 2nd over the outside in 4th is Cam's Magic Dancer. Following that cover, 3rd over on the outside in 6th is Meadowland Diamond. 7th, that is Heart of a Hero. 8th on the inside, Quartzville Cutie, a swing to the outside in 9th, Usually Jovial. Along the inside there, that is Sand Bonnie, and 10th and trailing the field, Cincy Kathy G as they step around the clubhouse turn, halfway home in 57 2/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside, fillies and mares are headed towards 3/4 with Lady of Future on top, leading it here by a length and a quarter, grinding it out first over on the outside in 2. That is Cam's Magic Dancer. Along the rail in 3rd, that is Special Pass. 2nd over the outside, racing in 4th, perfectly positioned here. That is Meadowland Diamond. At the inside, racing in 5, Beep Beep Zip Tang. 3rd over on the outside in 6th is Usually Jovial. 7th on the inside, Heart of the Hero. To the outside, racing in 8th, that is Cincy Kathy G. A swing to the outside in 9th is Sand Bonnie, and 10th and trailing the field, Quartzville Cutie. Through 3/4, 1:26 3. They'll pace to the top of the stretch, and on top, that's Lady with a Future on top for Chip Noble, leading it here by 3. At the top of the stretch, driving through the lane. On top, Lady with a Future leads the way. Now swinging out to the outside, Meadowland Diamond is charging hard and coming to her. Lady with a Future on the inside. Meadowland Diamond on the outside will not get to her. Lady with a Future in front. 2nd of the mile was the 1, Meadowland Diamond. 3rd was the 6, Beep Beep Zip Tang. The time of the mile was 1:56 2/5. Lady with a Future. A 5-year-old bay mare by Falcon's Future out of a Davila. She by Direct Scooter is owned by Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York. Trained by Tim Rucker. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Sam Chip Noble III. That is the first win in 2003, clocked again at 1:56 2. The 2, Lady with a Future, gives Chip Noble his 2nd winning drive of the evening, giving him a driving double. The 1 is Summer Sun, owned by William Cantrell of Oil Springs, Kentucky. Trained by Jeff Brewer. Jason Brewer is up. The 2 is Cincy Chai Lizzie, owned by Thomas Price of Cincinnati, Ohio. Trained and driven by Jack Daly. The 3 is Cam's Halo, owned by Paul Wade and Stephen Watkins. They're both of the Buckeye State. Trained by Dan McCulloch with Jim Shelton. Number 4 is Kayla Marie, owned by Harry and Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York. Trained by Tim Rucker, Sam Chip Noble III. Number 5 is New Girl in Town, owned by Timothy Reck and Stephen McIver. They're both of Ohio, trained by Tim Reck with Kane Kaufman. Number 6 is Lacey's Legacy, owned by Clarence You Can Call Me Sonny DeLong and Hawk. They're both of Ohio, trained by Daryl Hoosier with Kyle Wader. Number 7 is Southern Miz, owned by the Darby's Edge Stable of London, Ohio, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr., Brett Miller. The 8 is Come On Wild Angel, owned by Jerry Sommers of Pickerington, Ohio, trained by Mike Metters, Jamie Dunlap. And for the outside of the 9 is Noble and Sarah, owned by Matt Rowe of Urbana, Ohio, trained by Robert Stapleton. Danny Noble is in her Welcome
sulky.
back to Scioto Downs. Field in motion. Daryl Fan pacing and firing away at a very even start here. The first call goes to the outside of Southern Miss. In between horses, that is Lacey's Legacies, who's on the go. Coming away, racing in 3rd, that is Kayla Marie. Away in 4th is Summer Sun. Got to the outside, racing in 5th, that is New Girl in Town. 6th on the inside, Cincy Chai Lizzie, as they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter. On top of the field, now to the clearing to the front end here, Southern Miss. Southern Miss clears to the front for Brett Miller through an initial quarter of 27 2/5. Now passing the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. And Southern Miz leads it here by 2. To the inside, Lacey's Legacy has found the garden spot, racing in 2. Kayla Marie is 3rd. 4th on the inside, Summer Sun. 5th is Cincy Chai Lizzie. 6th is Cam's Halo. 7th, that is Come On Wild Angel. Then we come down to the 2 trailers, Noble Land Sarah, and New Girl in Town was backed way off there as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. On top, Southern Miss, your 3 to 5 punters choices on the front end here, leading them through a half and 57 3/5. A well-rated second panel there at 30-1. Off the turn and setting sail down the backside. On top, Southern Miss leads it by a comfortable length and up half to the inside. Lacey's Legacy is right there in the garden spot, racing in 2. Locked in at the rail, racing in third, that is Kayla Marie. First over the rim, racing in fourth, that is Cincy Chai Lizzie. Now swinging up 3 deep from the back of the pack. Here comes Come On Wild Angel with a brush from the back as they approach the 3/4 mile mark of the race, and Southern Miss with the lead here. 3/4 and 1:26 and 1/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. Southern Miss with the lead here, grinding it out. First over the outside in 2 is Cincy Chai Lizzie, who's still there, still coming to the leader and along the inside. Lacey's Legacy awaits the passing lane. Off the turn to the top, a heartbreak lane, and driving through Power Alley on top. That is Southern Miss, but she's beginning to feel the pressure on the outside. Cincy Chai Lizzie to the outside. Kayla Marie is charging hard and blowing on by. Kayla Marie gets up to win it. Finishing second was the 7 Southern Miss. Third was the 2 Cincy Chai Lizzie. The time of the mile, 1:55 flat. Kayla Marie in a new lifetime mark. An 8-year-old bay mare by Direct Flight out of a Calcutta Miss. She by Schicker is owned by Harry and Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York. Trained by Tim Rucker. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Sam Chip Noble III. Kayla Marie has given Sam Noble III his 3rd victory of the evening, giving him a driving triple. That's back-to-back wins for trainer Tim Rucker, giving him a conditioning double. It's official. 4726 is now official. 47 exacta 8480. 472 try $1,458. Well, this race sponsored by Sulky Sweeties in the winner's circle to make the trophy presentation. The 2 is Ms. Baker Lady, owned by Eleanor Collier of Vandalia, Ohio, trained by Forrest Collier with Jim Daly up. The 3 is Falcone Return, owned by Inge Niemski of Sardinia, Ohio, trained by Leszek Niemski with Mark Winters. Number 4 is Samantha Rebo, owned by Melby Ober Sr. of Cable, Ohio, trained by Ann Hildebrand with Jack Franklin up. The 5 is Tricky Trippy, owned by Bernice Molnar of Northfield, Ohio, trained by Daryl Hoosier with Brett Miller up. The 6 is Joju Jan. Scott Piney's Bud Light Long Shot of the Night is owned by John DeBoard of Dayton, Ohio, trained by Tim Fisher, Sam Chip Noble III. Number 7 is Dorth Dana, owned by Richard Elwood of Lancaster, Ohio, trained by Rick Hartman with Jamie Dunlap. Number 8 is Southside Flash, owned by Herb Thompson and Vincent Moore. They're both of Groveport, Ohio, trained by Gilbert Travis. Jack Daly is up and for the outside. The 9 is Sparkling Sabra, owned by George Irvin of Delphus, Ohio, trained by Dan Wiseman. Dallas Miller is in her sulky. Good in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away. Middle of the track, there goes the 3. Falcone Return is headed straight for command. Ms. Baker Lady right there on the inside is racing in 2. Coming away in 3rd, that is Samantha Rebo. Up on the outside in 4th, that is Sparkling Sabra. Away in 5 is Tricky Trippy. 6th on the inside, Joju Jan. 7th is Dordana, and 8th and trailing the field, that is Southside Flash. And Jack Daly can see them all. Single file formation as they race around the first turn and over to the opening quarter, being led by Falcone Return through an opening quarter of 28 and 2/5. Passing the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. On top, Falcone Return and Mark Winters leads it here by a length and a quarter. Ms. Baker Lady is nose to helmet racing in 2. Samantha Rebo is racing in 3rd. Unhurried in 4th is Sparkling Sabra. First over the outside in 5, that is Tricky Trippy. Snagging that cover. Second over the outside in 6th is Joju Jan. 7th at a swing to the outside, that is Dorth Dana. And 8th and trailing the field, but out into the cover flow, that is Southside Flash. As they step around the clubhouse turn, we got 4 in and 4 out. They reach the halfway mile mark of the race in 59 and 1/5. Off the turn and setting sail down the backside. On top, Falcone Return leads it by a length and a quarter. About to be joined first over on the outside, racing in 2nd, that is Tricky Trippy. Along the rail, racing in 3rd, that is Ms. Baker Lady, who's watching over these dueling leaders. 2nd over the outside in 4th, that is Joju Jan. Buried at the rail in 5 is Samantha Rebo. At the outside in 6th, that is Sparkling Sabra. 7th on the inside, that is Dorth Dana. And 8th and trailing the field, Southside Flash. 3/4 and 1:27 and 3/5. 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. Into the outside, Trippy sticks ahead in front. Falcone Return is battling back gamely on the inside in 2. Along the rail, waiting the passing lane is 3rd is Ms. Baker Lady as they turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Trippy strikes the frontier. A move to the passing lane. Here's Ms. Baker Lady, middle of the track. That is Joju Jan, but at the wire, Trippy in front. Finishing second was the 2, Ms. Baker Lady. Third was the 3, Falcone Return. Time of the mile, 1:56. 4/5. Trippy in a new lifetime mark. Race number 5, Trippy, a 6-year-old bay mare by Towner's Big Guy out of a tripwire. She by No Nukes, owned by Bernice Molnar of Northfield, Ohio, trained by Daryl Hoosier. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Brett Miller. That's 2 wins on this evening's card for driver Brett Miller, giving him a driving double. Trippy home in 1:56.4 to pick up the second win in 2003. 5-2 exacta returns $82.80. 5-2-3 try returns $215.80. Here's a rundown for the 5th race. Top to bottom, scratch 6, 2, 3, 6, 1, 5, 8, 7, 4 on the bottom. Scratch 6, 2, 3, 6, 1, 5, 8, 7, 4 on the bottom. The upcoming 6th race, fillies and mares conditioned. Number 1 is Loveliest of All, owned by Free as a Bird Stable Incorporated of Coral Springs, Florida, trained by Lloyd Hawk. Brett Miller is up. Number 2 is Look Beth, owned and trained by Gregory Kovac of Farmersville, Ohio. Kyle Waiter at the lines. Number 3 is Winning Connection, owned by Blankenship and Hickey. They're all of the Buckeye State, trained by Tom Blankenship with Sandy Beatty. Number 4 is Holiday Beach, owned by Val Bame of Columbus, Ohio, trained and driven by Jack Franklin. The 5 is Nanny's Magic Star, owned by Melby Ober Sr. of Cable, Ohio, trained by Ann Hildebrand with Danny Noble. Number 6 is Hidden Affair, owned by Thomas Morrow of Richwood, Ohio, trained and driven by Don Feaster. Number 7 is Jenna's Great Lady, owned by Terry Lee Tackett of Marion, Ohio, trained by Arnold Johnston with Jamie Dunlap. From Post 8, the 8, Noble Know-It-All, owned by Joseph Smith Sr. of Pickerington, Ohio, trained and driven by Jim Daly. From the outside, number 9 is April Graham, owned by Richard and David Finfrock of New Carlisle, Ohio, trained and driven by Jack Daly. And scoring from post position 10 from off the second tier, Woolridge Ken Wynn, owned and trained by Ray Seabelt of South Charleston, Ohio. Bob Harper is in her sulky. Starter, near the go, field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. There goes Look Beth, who's headed straight for command here from the outside. As they drive into that first turn, that is Noble Know-It-All, and off stride, a host of 3 horses there off stride as they race around the first turn and over to the opening quarter. Noble Know-It-All is placed on the front end here by trainer driver Jim Daly. It opens up quickly by 2. To the inside, stalking her from second, that is Look Beth. Along the inside, racing in third as they race by the opening quarter-mile mark of the race. That is Jenna's Great Lady, an opening quarter in 27-2. Passing on by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half, and Noble Know-It-All with the lead here. Look Beth is tracking her in the garden spot, racing in 2. Jenna's Great Lady is racing in 3rd. 4th, that is Woolridge Ken Wynn. 5th, that is Loveliest of All. First over on the outside, racing in 6th, April Graham. Tracking up on the outside in 7th, that is Holiday Beach. Then we come back to the 3 breakers, Hidden Affair, Nanny's Magic Star, and Winning Connection as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. Noble Know-It-All is leading the way here through a half in 58-2. Noble Know-It-All off the turn and driving down the backside, leads it here by a length and a half. Grinding it out first over the outside, racing in 2. That is Woolridge Ken Wynn. Along the inside in 3rd, that is Look Beth. Second over the outside, racing in 4th. That is April Graham. Buried at the rail, racing in 5. Jenna's Great Lady. To the outside in 6th, that is Holiday Beach. 7th on the inside, that is Loveliest of All. Outside racing in 8th, that is Hidden Affair. Along the inside in 9th, that is Holiday Beach. And 10th and trailing the field, Nanny's Magic Star. 3/4 in 127 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Noble Know-It-All is under some left-handed urging here. Leads it by a length. Grinding it out first over, that is Woolridge Ken Wynn, and swinging up 3 high from 3rd as they turn to the top of the stretch. That's April Graham. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Noble Know-It-All with the lead, but she's under siege. Here's Woolridge can win, and Look Beth on the inside as they come to the wire. Look Beth is getting up through Virtue with a super stretch. Finishing second was the 8 Noble Know-It-All. Third was the 10 Woolridge can win. The time of the mile 1:56 flat. Look Beth. Trackside of the winner's circle, the winner of the 6th race, number 2 Look Beth, a 5-year-old bay mare by Look Sharp.
I can't see it on my program. No, the mayor. The mayor. Yes, the mayor.
Out of a Shanna K mare, she by Happy Escort, is owned and trained by Gregory Kovac of Farmersville, Ohio. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Kyle Wader. Third win in 2003, pacing home at a mark of 1:56 flat tonight. The 2, Look Beth, is the one is Worthy Lady, owned by Ross of Cincinnati, Ohio, and Ross of Owensville, Ohio, trained by Charles Ross with a K-man, Kane Kaufman. Number 2 is Robin Samantha, owned by Amitel Patel of Springfield, Ohio, trained by Scott Mogan with Sam Chipnoble III. Number 3 is Bit of Trick, owned by Parker, Spracklin, and Green. They're all 3 of the Buckeye State, trained by Gary Green with Jack Daly. Number 4 is Puss in Boots, owned by Barnett Zimmerman of Limited Liability Company of Deerfield, Illinois, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. Brett Miller is up. Number 5 is Ellen's Trick, owned by Ellen and Mike Havens of Asheville, Ohio, trained and driven by Jim Daly. Number 6 is Park Avenue Gal, owned by Bart Glass of Stanford, Kentucky, Glass Equine Limited Liability Company of Lexington, Kentucky, trained by Danny Collins. Danny Noble is up. The 7 is Peyton Place, owned by Bay Racing Stable of Delaware, Ohio, and Polly of Gahanna, Ohio, trained by Mike Campbell, Bob Harper. Number 8 is Here Comes Cammie, owned by Gilmore, Rogers, and Batchy Jr. They're of Ohio and Florida, trained and driven by Ricky Heitman. And for the outside of the 9 is I'm a Sam 2, owned by Joe Criswell of Marion, Ohio, trained by Delvin Criswell. Kyle Wader is in her for the back stretch. They're in the hands of the starter. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the outside. There goes Peyton Place, who's on the go. Driving up in between horses, that is Puss in Boots. Coming away, racing in third, that is Worthy Lady. Away in fourth, that is Robin Samantha. As they race around the first turn and over to the opening quarter, and on top of the field, Peyton Place. With the lead here, Ellen's Trick has come away in the garden spot, racing in 2. A gap of 3, racing in third, that is Worthy Lady. Away in fourth is Robin Samantha. Fifth, that is Puss in Boots. Sixth on the inside, Bit of Trick, as they race by the opening quarter in 27 2/5. Passing the stands for the first time and marching on down to the half, and Peyton Place has been forwardly placed on the front end here by Harper and leads it by a length and 3/4. Ellen's Trick is tracking her from the garden spot in 2. Worthy Lady is along in third. Fourth, that is Robin Samantha. Fifth on the outside now, that is Puss in Boots. First over and towing along the 3-horse Bit of Trick, and then we come down to the 3 trailers, which are Park Avenue Gal, Here Comes Cammie, and I'm a Sam 2. As they reach the half, they're halfway home in 57 2/5. A second panel there of 30 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside, and Peyton Place will be mighty tough to catch off these fractions. Leading it here by a length and a quarter. Nose to helmet, racing in second. That is Ellen's Trick. First over on the outside, racing in third. That is Puss in Boots. Locked in at the rail, racing in fourth. That is Worthy Lady. Second over on the outside, racing in 5. That is Bit of Trick. Sixth on the inside, Robin Samantha. Seventh, the swing to the outside, Park Avenue Gal. Eighth is Here Comes Cammie, and ninth and trailing the field, I'm a Sam 2. They were by 3/4 in 1:26 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Peyton Place is under mild urging here. To the outside, Puss in Boots is bearing down on the outside in 2. Off the turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and Puss in Boots blows right on by. Bit of Trick is coming to her on the outside as they come to the wire within the final 16th. Puss in Boots gives Brett Miller his 3rd winning drive of the night. Finishing second was the 3, Bit of Trick. Third was the 1, Worthy Lady. The time of the mile, 1:55, 1/5, Puss in Boots. Trackside of the winner's circle, the 7th race winner, the 4, Puss in Boots. Home in a winning time of 1:55 and 1. A sensational 3-year-old bay filly by Western Hanover, and a fancy boot, she by Albert, owned by Barnett Zimmerman Limited Liability Company of Deerfield, Illinois, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Brett Miller. For Brett Miller, that's 3 wins on this evening's card, giving him a driving triple. Puss in Boots has 4 wins out of 6 starts, this one in 1:55, 1/5. Pace of 1 mile, a purse of $8,500. Win, place, show exact to trifecta wagering. A field of 8. No changes. Here they are. The one is Fritzy Pickpocket, owned by Fritz, and McHenry. They're all of the Buckeye State, trained by Richard Fritz with Jack Delia. The 2 is Bless Our Best, owned by Ben Sexton of Franklin, Ohio, trained by Phil James, Kyle Waiters at the lines. Number 3 is Tarina's Best, owned by Dean Miller and William Rothnacht of Archbold, Ohio, trained by Mike Roth, Danny Noble. The 4 is Tweedledee, owned by Stanley Swango III of Waynesville, Ohio, trained by Jim Artledge, Bob Harper. The 5 is Siren, owned by Alan Keith of Pataskala, Ohio, trained by Mike Roth, Jamie Dunlap. Number 6, Sand Squall, owned by Bill Sanders of Stevenson, Alabama, trained by the Sandman Ty Loy. Brett Miller is up. The 7 is Lamora, owned by Ernie Young and Jerry Andrews of Marysville, Ohio, trained and driven by Jim Daly. And for the outside, here she is, the 8, Cam's Valentine, owned by Harold, Kohut, and Deary. They're all of the Buckeye State, trained by Marty Willem. Sam Chip Noble III is in her sulky. Tarina's Best, Tweedledee, Siren, Sand Squall, Lamora, and Cam's Valentine. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the outside. Sand Squall is on the go. From the outside, there is Lamora. A host of 3 from the inside. That is Tweedledee coming away in 3rd. 4th on the inside, that is Fritzy Pickpocket. Dropping in and 5 is Tarina's Best. 6th on the inside, Bless Our Best. 7th is Siren, and 8th and trailing the field, that is Cam's Valentine. As they wheel around the first turn and hung 3 deep to the quarter here. On top for the inside, Sand Squall is taking no prisoners through an opening quarter of 26 and 3/5. Passing the stands for the first time. Heading on down to the half in Tweedledee, but now on the outside. Lamora is looking to take the lead here as they roll under the wire with 5/8 of a mile remaining. Lamora to the front end. Along the inside, tracking her in 2nd, that is Tweedledee. First over on the rim, racing in 3rd, that is Tarina's Best. 2nd over and back on the outside, there is Sand Squall as they race around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. On top of the field, now trying to clear to the front, that is Tarina's Best through a wicked half of 55 seconds flat. Off the turn and setting sail down the backside. On top, Tarina's Best with the lead here is clear to the lead by length and 3/4. To the inside, Lamora's right there in 2. First over on the outside, racing in 3rd. That is Sand Squall. To the inside in 4th is Bless Our Best, and now swung up 3 wide from the back of the pack. Here comes Siren. Cam's Valentine is following that move as they approach the 3/4 mile mark of the race, and Fillies and Mares Preferred Handicap Pacers are beginning to bunch up. 3/4, 1:23 and 1. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. Tarina's Best to the inside. Sand Squall, middle of the track, still there, still coming to her. 3 wide on the outside is Siren, and ready to swing 4 high for the stretch drive. That is Cam's Valentine off the turn, and less than an 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. Tarina's Best with the lead. Siren to the middle of the racetrack. Here's Cam's Valentine, and she is charging hard on the outside. Cam's Valentine and Siren, these 2 to the wire. Believe it was Cam's Valentine who just got up to win it. 1:52 4/5. What a finish. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, and what a sweetheart of a mare she is. Number 8, Cam's Valentine. An 8-year-old bay mare by Cam Fella out of a Racy Tracy. She by Albatross. Is owned by Harold, Kohut, and Deary. They're all of the Buckeye State. Trained by Marty Willem. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Sam Chip Noble III. Posting her 6th win in 2003. A lifetime best here, equaling lifetime best. 1:52 and 4. Cam's Valentine. And Chip Noble gets his 4th winning drive of the night. The 8, She's a Magic Girl, has been withdrawn sick. Turning to the 10th race, 2nd leg of the late pick 3. Scratch the 8, Forever and Ever, Amen. Sick. The 8, Forever and Ever, Amen, is sick and has been scratched out of the 10th. The 1 is Jody Lynn Top, owned by Tamara Hoopler of Pataskala, Ohio, trained by Mike Metters. Jamie Dunlap is up. Number 2 is Joe Vaughn, owned by Ross of Owensville, Ohio, and Ross of Cincinnati, Ohio, trained by Charles Ross, the K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Number 3 is Perfect Lady Kalfas. My Budweiser best bet of the night is owned by John Kalfas of Baldwin, New York, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr., Danny Noble. Number 4 is Perfect Print, owned by Breckler and Mogan, both of the Buckeye State. Trained by Scott Mogan, gets the red hot Sam Chipnoble III. Number 5 is Ever's Connection, owned by Ballinger, Klotz, and Dar. They're all of the Buckeye State. Trained by Dave Klotz. Brett Miller is up. The 6 is Marvel Sabra, owned by Beverly Bushelman of Franklin, Ohio. Trained by Daryl Collins with Herbie Brown. Next is the 7 Midway Dottie, owned by John Bussey of Thornville, Ohio, who also does the training. Bob Harper is up. Scratch the 8, She's a Magic Girl Sick, and for the outside of the 9 is VC Queen, owned by Brummel, Ader, Richards, and Montgomery. They're all of New Jersey and Ohio, trained by Dan Ader. Kyle Ader is in her sulky. In the hands of the starter, Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the outside. There goes Midway Dottie driving through from the rail. There is Jody Lynn Chop coming away in third. That is Joe Vaughn. Caught to the outside in fourth is Perfect Print. Away in 5, that is Perfect Lady Kalfas. 6th on the inside, Ever's Connection. 7th, that is Marvel Sabra. And 8th, and trailing the field, VC Queen. As they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter. On top of the field, leading the way, Midway Dottie. But up on the outside, here's Jody Lynn Top. And Jody Lynn Top and Jamie Dunlap to the front end through an opening quarter of 28-3. Passing the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. On top, Jody Lynn Top and Dunlap to the front end tier. Leads it by a length and a quarter. Midway Dottie is nose to helmet in second. Joe Vaughn is tracking the leaders from third. Fourth, that is Perfect Print. Fifth on the inside, that is Perfect Lady Kalfas. A swing to the outside in sixth is Marvel Sabra. Buried at the rail in seventh, Ever's Connection. And eighth, and trailing the field, VC Queen. As they race around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. Jody Lynn Top leads them through a half. They're halfway home here in 59 3/5. A second panel with 31 seconds flat. Off the turn and setting sail down the backside with Jody Lynn Top calling the shots here. Leads it by a length and a half. Midway Dottie a rail ride in second, and off stride on a bad break went Perfect Print in the middle of the pack as they race down the backside. On top, Jody Lynn Top with the lead here. Midway Dottie still right there in the garden spot, racing in 2. First over on the outside, racing third, that is Marvel Sabra. Buried at the rail in fourth is Joe Vaughn. Second over on the outside, racing in 5, VC Queen. Sixth on the inside, Perfect Lady Kalfas, and she is yet to make a move. Seventh, that is Ever's Connection, and eighth, and trailing the field, Perfect Print. Through 3/4 and 1:28 2/5 to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Jody Lynn Top and Dunlap is all over her. Here comes Midway Dottie, and Midway Dottie is surging in the super stretch. Jody Lynn Top, Midway Dottie is getting up. Finishing second of the mile was the 1-horse Jody Lynn Top. Third was the 6 Marvel Sabra. Top of the mile, 1:57 flat. Midway Dottie in a new lifetime mark. Nobleland Sam out of a Pine Hill Dottie, she by Ombro Aussie, is owned and trained by John Bussey of Thornville, Ohio. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Bob Harper. Fourth win in 2003, the 7 Midway Dottie in a new lifetime mark, 1:57 flat. $7-1-6-5 is now official. 7-1-6-5 is now official. 7-1 exacta returns 92.20. 7-1-6 try returns lights out $5,224.20. The 1 is Shocking Sarah, owned by Earl Bushelman of Hamilton, Ohio. Trained by Earl Bushelman with Kyle Wader up. Number 2 is Dominique D, owned by Sarah Jane Hatcher of Marysville, Ohio. Trained by Larry Landon with Jim Daly at the lines. Number 3 is High Flying Samantha, owned by Matt Rowe, Mark Rowe, and David Miller. They're all of the Buckeye State, trained by David Lowe with Bob Harper. Number 4 is Casarena, owned by Ronald Dean Ross of Staffordsville, Kentucky, trained by Jeff Brewer, Jason Brewer. The 5 is Mega Laugh, owned by Clarence You Can Call Me Sonny DeLong of Orient, Ohio, trained by Chancey Love with Jeff Collins. Number 6 is TT Special Star, owned by Terry Garrett of Dayton, Ohio, trained by Scott Ferguson, Danny Noble. Number 7 is Plainfield, owned by Thomas Carroll of Coshocton, Ohio, trained by Mervyn Kenner with Eric Webb. The 8 Forever and Ever Amen is out sick, and from the outside of the 9 is Good Time Ali, owned by Everman and Trout. They're both of Ohio, trained by Bucky Trout. Brett Miller is in her sulky. Never amen. A field of 8 swings to the back stretch. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the middle of the track. There goes the 5 Mega Laugh. From the inside, there is Dominique D. Driving up from the outside, there is Plainfield. Coming away in 4th, that is High Flying Samantha. 5th on the inside, Casarena. To the outside in 6th, looking to duck in there. That is Good Time Ali. 7th on the inside, Shocking Sarah. And 8th and trailing the field, that is TT Special Star. As they wheel around the first turn, over to the opening quarter they go. Plainfield on top of the field here, leading them through an initial quarter of 28 and 1/5. Marching on by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half in Plainfield. Your leader here leads it by 2. To the inside, Mega Laugh is tracking along in 2nd. Up on the outside, first over in 3. That is High Flying Samantha. Buried at the rail in 4th is Dominique D. 2nd over on the outside in 5, that is Casarena. 6th on the outside, that is Shocking Sarah. 7th, that is TT Special Star. And 8th and trailing the field on a dead run here, that is Good Time Ali as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. On top of the field, Plainfield took them to the half in 58 and 1/5. A well-rated second panel there at 30 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside in the first half of the late daily double, and on top of the field, Plainfield is calling the shots here. Leads it by a length and 3/4. Mega Laugh to the inside is racing in 2nd. First over the outside, racing in 3. That is High Flying Samantha. Buried at the rail, racing in 4. That is Dominique D. To the outside, racing in 5. Casarena. 6th on the inside, TT Special Star. 7th on the outside, Shocking Sarah. As they went by 3/4 in 1:27 and 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home in Plainfield with the lead here. But up on the outside, here comes Dominique D. and ready to swing 3 wide for the stretch drive. That is TT Special Star. Off the turn, heads are pointed for home. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. Dominique D strikes the frontier, but TT Special Star is charging hard and rolling on by. TT Special Star is getting up, finishing 2nd, Dominique D. It was very close for 3rd. May have been the 7 Plainfield over the 4 Casarena. The top of the mile, 1:57, 4/5. TT Special Star and a new lifetime mark. A 7-year-old bay mare by Tudor Scooter out of a special Daydream mare. She by Steady Special is owned by Terry Garrett of Dayton, Ohio, trained by Scott Ferguson. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Dan Noble. 2nd win in 2003, new lifetime mark 1:57 and 4, TT Special Star. 6247 is now official, 62 exacta 2220, 624 try 5880. For the 11th and final race, win place show exacta trifecta superfecta wagering. Conditioned pacers of 1 mile, a purse of $2,000. Stallions and geldings, a field of 10, no changes. Number 1 is Buckeye Hanover, owned by the Wolverine stable of Lancaster, Ohio, trained by Jim Artledge Jr. Dallas Miller is out. The 2 is Jenny's Wild Child, owned by Stephen Watkins of Sydney, Ohio, trained by Dan McClough with Jim Shelton. The 3 is Billy's 6-shooter, owned by Billy and Opal Sizemore of Miamisburg, Ohio, trained and driven by Jeff Smith. The 4 is Longing for Home, owned by Elaine Bainter of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. Brett Miller is up. The 5 is Mark from Eden, owned by Winchester Bay Acres Incorporated of Powell, Ohio, trained and driven by Jim Daly. The 6 is Attaboy Charlie, owned by Christopher and Kerry Beaver of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Charles Beaver. Kyle Wader is up. The 7 is Helsa Sam, owned by the Shout Stable of Pompano Beach, Florida, trained and driven by Rick Shout. The 8 is Staley Lane, owned by Marvin Godown of Greenville, Ohio, trained and driven by the K-Man, Kane Kaufman. From the outside of the 9 is Western Magic, owned by Calvin Lamb of Marion, Ohio, trained and driven by Bobby Arnett. And scoring from off the 2nd tier is number 10, Sassy's Trick, owned by Melby Ober Sr. of Cable, Ohio, trained by Ann Hildebrand. Danny Noble is in her sulky. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. There goes Buckeye Hanover, middle of the racetrack. There is Mark from Eden. Driving up in between horses, that is Billy's Six Shooter. Coming away in fourth is Jenny's Wild Chow. Dropping in five, that is Helsa Sam. Coming away in sixth, that is Attaboy Charlie. Seventh is Staley Lane. Eighth on the inside, that is Sassy's Trick. Ninth, that is Western Magic. And 10th and trailing the field as they race around the first turn is Longing for Home. As they report to the opening quarter in 27 and 3/5. Passing the stand for the first time and heading on down to the half, and Billy's Six Shooter has been set down on the frontier, leading it by a length and a half. To the inside, Mark from Eden has found the garden spot, racing into, rolling under the wire with 5/8 of a mile remaining. Buckeye Hanover is tracking the two leaders from third. Fourth, that is Jenny's Wild Chow. To the inside and five is Helsa Sam. First to flush, coming with a rush on the outside, Attaboy Charlie in sixth. Seventh, that is Staley Lane. To the outside, racing in eighth, that is Longing for Home. Ninth is Sassy's Trick, and 10th and trailing the field as they race by the half in 57 and 4/5. 10th and trailing is Western Magic, off the turn and driving down the backside of the finale. On top, Billy's Six Shooter and Jeff Smith leads it here by a widening 2 lengths. To the inside, trying to go with him in second, that is Mark from Eden. First over on the rim on the outside in third, that is Attaboy Charlie. Fourth on the inside, Buckeye Hanover, who is buried there at the rail. Fifth on the outside, and second over is Longing for Home. 3/4 in 126 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Billy's Six Shooter is under some urging here from Jeff Smith. To the inside, Attaboy Charlie is coming to him and coming on as they turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Billy's Six Shooter with the lead. Attaboy Charlie is coming to him and coming on. Longing for Home is coming to him, but as they roll within the final 16th, Billy's Six Shooter's back to winning ways. First win in 2003. Second of the mile was the 6 horse Attaboy Charlie. Third was the 4 Longing for Home. To round out the super, it was the 7 Helsa Sam. 1:54 3/5. Billy's Six Shooter and trainer driver Jeff Smith. Trackside of the winner's circle, returning for the first time in 2003. The 3 Billy's Six Shooter in a gate-to-wire effort. A 6-year-old brown gelding by In the Pocket out of a Katy Hills. She by Falcon Elmerhurst. Is owned by Billy and Opal Sizemore of Miamisburg, Ohio. Nicely trained and driven to victory by Jeff Smith. Timed in 1:54 3/5. Number 3, Billy's Six Shooter.